Good morning, everyone. We'll be starting shortly. Just wait for a few more people to attend, give them another minute, and then I'll start taking you through what we've done in the last year at Market Dojo. Right, okay, let's crack on. We're past past now. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. My name is Ben Harvey. I'm the product manager at Market Dojo. That means I'm in charge of the roadmap, what gets developed both in the short term and the long term, and the overall vision of our product suite. What I'll be taking you through today is some of the things we've released very recently. So that's multi-stage RFQs for the most part. And then I'll also be taking you through a multitude of things we released in 2019, from the small customer love items through to the larger, more weighty projects. I'll also give you a sneak preview of the kind of things we're going to be looking to do in 2020 and indeed what we've already started. So kicking off, it's in the title of the presentation, I want to take you through multi-stage RFQs and the overall idea on what we're using them for and why we've brought them into the product. So this is within Market Dojo, our flagship product for e-sourcing, and it essentially gives you the ability to not only have a single round of a request for quotation, but also to follow that up with subsequent rounds of bidding. The idea being it allows for negotiation. We know a number of procurement teams have a process where they receive that initial bid, but then would like to go out to negotiate, make sure everything's been truly understood from the supplier's end before they get an update on that price, maybe eke out a little more saving. It allows for a level of competition, particularly if you're sharing the ranks, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Particularly if you're sharing the ranks with the suppliers, you can see where they are in the auction without it having the fast pace. Maybe if you've got a particularly large lot or complex lot that you don't feel would be appropriate for auction, this is a way of having that competition steadily over a number of rounds. It also allows for a lot of flexibility. So that's flexibility not only in the requirements, so you can change perhaps little tweaks of what you're asking for based on the feedback from your suppliers, but you can also change who's within the event. So maybe after the first round, I want to drop out a certain number of suppliers and then proceed with just my top few. You'll have the ability to do that. So just before I demo that to you, I just want to go through another smaller piece of functionality we've added recently, and that will be numeric questions. So something that's been asked for a little while from a few of our customers, the ability to limit our supplier responses within questionnaires to be purely numerical in characters. So we've added the ability to restrict those both in Sim and Market Dojo, and we've also added a supplementary bit of functionality allowing you to define the number of decimal places you can allow your participants to enter, but also to set the scaling. So I'll show you a suffix feature we'd added, and that not only allows you to ensure that all of your suppliers are answering among the same scaling, but allows you to do other things such as request percentages or ratios. So right now I'm going to take you through both numeric questions and multi-stage RFQs. Let me just pull up my event. Close this off. Ooh. There we go. No, we don't. There we go. So you can see I've created an event here. At the moment, this event is a single round of RFQ, so nothing has changed at the moment. So first of all, I'm going to show you through the numeric question. So if I go to my questionnaire and edit this, you can see here I've got two questions within the questionnaire. The first one I've used for kind of its standard practice. So if I edit the question attributes here, this is just a way of ensuring that all answers are directly comparable. So we do have some instances, particularly when measuring distance. We have UK suppliers and US who measure in miles and everyone else measures in kilometers, or maybe you've got a mixture of both. This is a way of guaranteeing that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet, essentially. So I've got this new question type here. I can scroll down to the bottom and select numeric. I get to define the number of decimal places I'm requesting, similar to advanced lots if you've used that before. And I can also define the suffix. So you can see here I've requested kilometers. Just to branch off from that, we've also had requests for the ability to complete a ratio within the system or a percentage. So showing how that might work, you can use this suffix in other ways. So if I do : to 1, you're requesting a ratio from your suppliers. Just as easily, if I were to put in a percentage here, you'd be requesting a percentage. I'm going to leave that for now. Save these changes. And then let me take you through the RFQ. So you can see at the moment, here's my standard RFQ. At the moment, this is a single round of request for quotation. You can see participant 3 hasn't bid. I'm currently in the sandpit, so I'm going to take you through what that third participant will see. So if I go through as the third participant, let me show you those numeric fields in action. Go through to the questionnaire. You can see here I've got that definition. I can purely only enter numeric values. If I try and enter text, it won't allow me to. And I can see that I'm meant to be answering in kilometers there. With the ratio, I can clearly see this is meant to be a ratio to 1, and I can complete numeric fields only there and any decimal places that are requested, both with the European comma notation and the UK dot notation. Just fill in some values there. Okay. And once those are saved, I'm going to move on to my RFQ. So right now, I'm just going to submit some generic values into here and show you what that then looks like from the host side. Okay, place a value of 150 there and a value of 150 there. Okay, now if I jump back to the host side, you'll be familiar with this. What I'll see is those values have been populated into my RFQ. Not enough to win, but if I expand the participants, I can now see their bids. What I'm now going to do is close off this round of bidding. So typically, you would set your bid deadline in the future. In this instance, I've not set my bid deadline. I was waiting for everyone to bid. So now I'm going to come in and set the deadline to a minute from now. So let me just quickly update this, hopefully within the minute. Save those changes. And fingers crossed we'll be most of the way through the 39th minute of the 11th hour. And you can see I've got 35 seconds to wait. So if I just come through to my RFQ screen, I'll talk you through what we're about to see. So once this is concluded, what I'm going to see is, okay, this round of bidding has ended, and I'll be provided the ability to start a new round of bidding. So this will be clearly indicated in the top left, as you'll see in a second, with an icon, but also in the additional actions in the bottom right, where you would typically download a report, or I forget the other option, but you would have the option to add another round of bidding from there. So 3 seconds to go, and this page is going to update. And there we are. So nothing has changed beneath this, but you can see the RFQ deadline has passed, and you can see I've got that ability there to add another round of RFQ. And that's precisely what I'm going to do. So when I add this new round of RFQ, what I'm going to see is I have the ability to set a new bid deadline if I wish. I also have the ability to show the ranks to the participants. I'm going to choose to do that. We know that in many instances you may not wish to do that, but if you did want that slight element of competition to it, you can show the ranks to suppliers. They'll see where they placed at the end of the last round before they make any subsequent bidding. I'm also going to choose to drop a competitor from here. So I'm actually going to drop participant number 3, who had the highest overall bid price, and I can see some vague information about what they've entered here. So I can see the number of bids they've entered across all rounds, so number of rounds times the bids they made within those rounds, and I can see the current bid price across all lots. So you should be able to identify here whether they've not bid against all the lots, etc. I'm going to save this, and what I'll now see is that I have the option to look at an overall view of what's currently going on in my event, or I can look at the individual rounds. So this best overall tab, I'll come back to later once I've got some more data, will show me the overall vision of what's currently happening in my event. But if I want to look back at round 1, I can do that right now. So if I click on that drop down, I'm viewing round 1 and what happened in round 1. So this looks exactly the same as it did before I created this new round. So I'm in the sandpit. I'm going to go through as participant 1. And in the RFQ tab, what I'm now going to land on is it's round 2. I can see here what I bid in the last round. I can choose to update those values or leave them as they are. I can also see that after round 1, bully for me, I'm in first place in both the lots. I'm going to choose to update this top lot to 137, a slight decrease. And actually, as participant 1, I'm in the lead. I don't feel the need to update that second value. Maybe it's my bottom line. But what I am going to do is jump in as participant 2. And these participants will have received notification that, hey, this event has opened up for a new round of bidding. It will close at this date. Participant 3 won't have received that notification because we dropped them from the event. Moving on to the RFQ tab. Oh, I'm still in as participant 1, excuse me. Moving on to the RFQ tab, you can see actually participant 2 was lagging behind in both of those lots. I'm going to choose to update this second lot to 140. And you can see that that ranking disappears. It's no longer relevant where you were after round 1. You don't need to know that anymore because you've placed your bid in round 2. I'm going to jump back now as the host. And you can see I'm viewing the best overall bid. So that's what really matters to you as a host. Who's bid the best? I don't care which round it was in. So you can see now participant 2 has moved up into the lead. If I expand this out, I get a similar format to the individual rounds. I can see the best bid from each participant, or the most recent bid. They're the same here. You can't increase your bid between rounds for a reverse auction. Okay, I've made 3 bids with both my participants across the event. You can see that clearly there. And if I click through to the rounds, what I can see is that in round 1, I've still got that data that I submitted before. Participant 1 was in the lead. But when I go to round 2, you can see now I've just got the data from round 2. So participant 1 only bid on lot 1, participant 2 only bid on lot 2. Our leaders were participant 1 and participant 2 at this point. Participant 3 has been dropped from the event, so I can no longer see them there. Okay. So I think that's everything you really need to know about multi-stage RFQs. The one slight change there is I could have chosen not to show those rounds, the ranking after the round to the suppliers. And that is really everything I have to show, apart from one small change, which is in the download. So we want people to be able to make this distinction between the rounds and the overall bidding, not only when they're in the app, but also when they view the download. So I'm going to show you an example here. It's not from this event. But you can see here, I've got, this is my standard RFQ summary, no real changes here, exactly the same, but you can see at the bottom, I've got a round for each of my RFQ rounds. So round 1 is going to look very similar. So you can see the savings I've made overall, the bid value at that time. So these were the bids made within round 1. When I then move on to round 2, I'm going to see an additional field. So not only am I going to see their bid value within round 2 and their savings overall as mapped against your current price inputted into the system, but I'm also going to see their in RFQ savings. So that's compared to their previous round, or round 1 rather. So in round 3, these will be improved again. But I can see the actual progress I've made within the RFQ process itself. Okay, I think that's everything on multi-stage RFQs for now. I'm just going to pop out the sandpit before I come back to my slides here. So if you've got any questions of those, feel free to pop them into the chat and I'll take you through them when we reach the Q&A at the end of the presentation. One major thing we added, the big thing to shout about really from our point of view in 2019 was Contract Dojo. So taking you through this larger item first, and then I'll move on to the smaller items. So we have had a full webinar previously on Contract Dojo, but I just wanted to take this chance to just run back over those. Maybe if you've missed it, I'll provide a link to where you can find that webinar and show you how to reach it in a moment. But what features does this really bring? So it's a contract storage system with lots of great features that I'll show you in a second, but really allowing you to customize how that's logged and to keep you on top of your events. So it allows for that global collaboration. Multiple people come in and add what they need to your contracts. It allows you to track expiring contracts and customize alerts. So I'll be able to see, oh, it's coming up to the end of this contract. I need to be taking some actions. It allows you to assign internal and external contacts. So those are your supplier contacts and also the contacts within your team. And it allows you to add a host of customizable information. So details about the particular contract, any notes, documents, any relationships with your parent-child contracts. So I'm going to quickly take you through those now. So you can see I've created a new contract here. I go through into webinar contract. So here we are. So at the top, I've got some basic details that I can enter against the contract. You can see I've pretty much entered everything as it was here. The only difference being this contract reference is automatically generated if you wish. So it's taken this off the data that's held within there. It's added the subsequent number to it. And all of these fields are customizable, the values that can be entered against them. So for this particular contract, I've chosen, you can see what's mandatory and what isn't. I've chosen my fields for that. And I've also added parent and children contracts. So you can see I've added a parent of MD Test 2 and a child of MD Test 1. And were I to go into those contracts, I would see the subsequent relationship back up the chain. I've added a category set up in Category Dojo that allows me to track where exactly these contracts are for and where they're being held. So this is for Market Dojo, it's being held within software. You can see I've got all of my category options there. And I can also add custom fields within the admin screen. So custom fields here, I've logged 4 of them. You can add as many as you like, various different types here. We've got a Boolean, a drop down, and we have 2 text entry fields. And you can see I can choose to make them mandatory or I can choose to make them optional. I can upload files. You can see the different file types you have here. Documents, is it the contract itself, the master contract, various different types, or just a generic other supporting document. And I can upload this here, download it from here. And you can also fill in where that file is physically located should you wish. I can add supplier contacts, important if you're setting up alerts from the system to remind us about when the contract's expiring. And I can add internal stakeholders as well. You can see I can add some additional information against both of those in the form of a label and a company for the supplier contact. Alerts and dates, set a start and expiry date, and then a notice period. When do I want to be reminded about this contract's expiry, and alert how often you want that alert to be received. I can also add customer notifications. This is where it really comes into its own. So you can see here I've got a custom notification set up. What this is going to do is it's going to send off to my internal stakeholder and my supplier stakeholder this information, and it's going to start at that date, and it's going to send this interval. And I can choose to include any notes that have been added against the contract if I wish, and I'll show later how you can choose to make those public or private. So notes here you are. If I add a new note, I can type in anything I wish. It will tell me who has created that note, whether I created it publicly or privately, and whether it should be included in alerts. So if I were to click alerts here, you would see that when I set up those customer notifications, they'll be included in the alerts. And that's all. You can see there's a brief history there as well, take you through the history of the contract. But in terms of a full breakdown, excuse me. In terms of a full breakdown, I just wanted to show you to the webinar hub here. You can see on the resources tab of the Market Dojo page, you have a number of options. If you go to the webinar hub now, if you want a full breakdown of what Contract Dojo is, a full webinar's worth by Lewis and Alan, they've got a breakdown there. You'll be able to find it there, just as you'll be able to find this recording after the fact. Okay, let me just jump back to my slides. So everyone now should have access to this Contract Dojo. So within the top bar at the top, everyone should be able to see that Contract Dojo option. And as a company, you will have 10 free contracts to play with. If your superhost has chosen to provide you access to that, you'll be able to play with it now. If not, you'll get a splash screen detailing who to go to request access and showing you some more information about what Contract Dojo can do. Right then, moving on. No less important, but not quite a whole new module. We added in notes to Market Dojo within 2019. This was fairly, I think this was around April, May of this year. To really allow you to centralize all information as a part of your MD event. We really didn't have before this anyway. You can just record any information about the event into a default location. So we've added that there. You can also use this to personalize your auditing. So I'll show you the example before where I've had to delete a bid, and I want to record why that bid has been deleted within the system. Let me just jump into that now, actually. Here we go. So this is my same event that I was on before that's now a multi-stage RFQ. If I go to the notes tab here, what I can see is I've added 2 notes to this event. I've added one against the event itself, and I've added one against a particular participant. Let's add a new note here. You can see I have the drop down of the participants available. Maybe I want to note why participant 3 was dropped from the event. And I can say they were last place in bidding after round 1. It's just a place to store. I know you'll receive lots of emails from your suppliers that really get maybe lost in just email chains somewhere, and you can never relate them back to the event, particularly if you come back months after the fact. Having that all located within the event itself we've found to be really useful for our users. Okay, let me jump back to my presentation here. A few more things to take you through in 2019. Power BI integration was a huge step for us. It gives us the ability to provide really in-depth reporting, really drilling down into the data that's held within Market Dojo and the suite of products as a whole. And what's great about it is it's totally bespoke to your processes. So you can set this up, tailor make it however you wish, add in as much drill down or data as you want to make sure you're really on top of all of your procurement processes. And neatly, it's software that's typically included with Office 365. So we do find that a lot of our users don't even realize they have access to Power BI until we kind of raise it with them. I'll take you through that in a moment, just another couple quick points that we're really proud of this year. Help Dojo has been massively useful in terms of support and helping our customers through the products. Wonderfully created by our customer success team and our support team, and it's a page specific help tool. I'll show you in a second that when you're on it you get information pertinent to the page you're on, and we are constantly updating information, so be that based off support cases or just ideas we have, or maybe ideas you have. If you do have any ideas, please let us know. That's been a really helpful tool for us this year. And then languages, we're really proud to have become what is essentially a worldwide product at this point. I think previously, this time last year, we had 5 languages, all from Western Europe. We're now looking at 20, and I'll take you through the list now as I demo to you reporting. So here from the All Modules Reporting tab, I've got a custom-made report here that's been set up with the Market Dojo team. And you can see here I've got some information on risk. I'm going to take you through some of these other tabs that we've set up, but you can see there's a wide scope of things we can do with this. So starting with sourcing events. So you can see the events that I've run. I can filter this down if I wish to the various events that I actually ran this year, or I can look at my overall data. So how many sourcing events did I have? What was my maximum spend? What was my maximum saving? I can filter down when the events are for. So this is all between these dates. I can see different event types, different event statuses, most are closed, some in draft. And I can also see, based on the owner, what progress has been made, what savings are they making individually. Heading back then, just a couple more examples of what this can really do. I guess geographic spread, something I really like. I can see where are my suppliers from, I think is this example. So here I can see I've got suppliers in the US, in the UK, Ireland, France, Germany, and a small island off the coast. Oh, is that France? It's still France, there we go. So you can see really a wide scope of where my suppliers are coming from. Just one example of the kind of report you can get out of here. And lastly, risk. So we can calculate risk off anything that is it's tailored to you. So if you have an idea on how you want your risks to be calculated per your suppliers, we can calculate this in here for you. So you can see we've programmed that would be an algorithm into the system to decide, okay, what is the risk against each of my suppliers? And I can see, okay, well, I've got 8 who are in the red. Who are they? I've got most of them on top of, and what security certifications have they got? If I've got lots missing a particular certificate, a security certification, I want to be aware of that. So 2 things I said I was going to touch on while I was here. First is languages. So we've moved from 5 to 20, I think it was. You can see at the top, there's some you recognize, some might be a little tricky to identify, but I know at the bottom here we've got, I think that's Arabic and traditional and simplified Chinese, Japanese, Korean. We're really proud to be expanding out our language capabilities. Okay, moving back here then. 2 more larger items to go over that were added this year that you may not be aware of, and they're both for Sim Dojo, our onboarding tool. So first of all is the ability to escalate a particular approval. we have approval loops within the tool that allow you to go to different teams for different types of approval, and this provides you the ability to flag an individual. So I actually want to escalate it from that team to a particular individual, and those are clearly informed. They sent an email from the system to say, hey, this has been escalated to you, and they're clearly indicated within the system where escalations have been made. And also we've added a hierarchy system to SimDojo, so having the ability to add multiple contacts against a particular participant helps you to reach the right people. We know that for a lot of sim events, you're trying to contact people in various different departments about various different things to complete individual questionnaires. When you can reach them all at once, they would all have access to the same event. They'd be able to enter answers for that participant. It allows for that collaborative input on the supplier side that's maybe been missing before. They have to pass around the same user. And it also allows to accommodate contact changes. So over the course, we know these sim events go on indefinitely. They should be going on, making sure you're up to date with all your security. And any changes of personnel are now much easier to implement. If I want to change the lead contact against an event, I can do that easily. If I want to add subsequent people or delete someone, I can do that as well. So let me show you that in action as well. So I've got a participant set up here. I'm looking at the contacts list first. So you can see I've got the name of the host contact here, and that's who is marked as the participant owner in the system. And I've got the details of the lead participant. So typically this is going to be the only contact that's in there. If you've not used this before, everyone you've invited will be marked as the lead participant. But you can see below I have the ability to add new contacts to this list. So you can see here I've actually added someone who I just want their information. I don't want them to be invited to the system. I have the ability to do that. If I set their access to none, all I'm essentially recording in here is their data. So maybe I want to know the CEO's name, I want to have their information in the system. I wouldn't necessarily want them to be invited to the sim event. I can do that here. And if I show you adding a new contact, I'll show you how that would work. And let's try this. And I'm going to invite them there. And all I need to supply is an email and what kind of communication I wish them to receive. So that will be emails from the system. Who do I want them to go to? So I have the choice of to, CC'd, or none. So I want them to be sent them in the to line, and I want them to have edit access to the system. It will make sure I do want to invite them to the event. And it's as simple as that. So they will have received an invitation to this event for this. You can see they're already actually within the system, so it's pre-populated their name and company. It's the benefits of testing. You get a lot of jumble data like that. But you can see they've been added to the contacts list. They'll be able to edit this event and change any of the participant, the questionnaire answers, provided they're still in submission status. What I can also do is come in and amend their access. So let's say the person at the top of this event, the webinar part, I believe it was, has left the company. I now need to update who is the lead on this contact, on this supplier. I come in, mark them as the lead, and when I reload this page, you can see the lead participant has been updated with this kind of filler data, and I would now be free to delete this webinar participant user if I wish, and none of the data would be lost. So I can maintain that supplier throughout time by just updating who the lead contacts and who the subsequent contacts are. So on this same supplier, I think I've got it open here. Oh, no, I don't. On this same supplier, I'm going to look at their approval. I think they're currently midway through approval at the moment. You can see I've escalated that top approval for create the ERP record. So you can see here it's marked as having been escalated. I can edit this escalation if I wish, but I'll first of all show you how I do this. So looking at this second option, I have the ability as standard to approve or reject or put a decision on hold. But if I escalate the approval, I will see additional contacts that I can raise this to. So if I were to raise it to CSM, they would get an email saying, okay, this has been escalated to you. It's now on your pile to deal with. You need to be approving the supplier. And you may wish to do that for situations where there's a particular scenario that hadn't been planned for, or maybe you have a particular process you have to go through. If something is selected in particular, it has to go above the main team. And you could do that here, and I'll show you how this shows up within the system. And that's what this final tab is for. So on the Actions tab, on the pending approvals, not only will I see the list of pending approvals as standard, you can see here for that webinar participant, I've got all these pending approvals listed, but I'll also see where it's been escalated with that little arrow icon. You see CSM at marketdojo.com has an approval waiting and it's been escalated to them. And that's it in terms of the large items. I'm sure there are many more I've missed. We've made a lot this year, so I've just tried to cover as much as possible. And speaking of covering as much as possible, this is where I test myself. So here we go. One thing we do every single sprint, our sprints are 2 weeks, we release at the end of every 2 weeks. One thing we do every single release, we ensure we have a number of developers working purely on what we call customer love. So customer love are things raised by our suppliers, either through support or through their account manager, or maybe we've had little ideas we think will really enhance the customer experience. What we'll do is we'll log those, prioritize them through myself and the rest of the product team and through our customer success manager. We will prioritize them and make sure we're constantly updating the system, just those little tweaks that make things much easier. What I'm now going to attempt to do as quickly as I can is reel off a whole bunch of things we did in 2019. So I'm going to give myself 60 seconds to do this. I'm going to list off as many as I can. These are all included in the release notes that I think are added as resources to this event or can be found in the resources hub I linked to earlier. So best of luck here. I'm going to name as many as I can. I'm sure I'll have many left over. There will be things I've missed. This will be a mixture of new features and it will be a mixture of areas we've enhanced. So there might be some things you recognize. That's where we've made improvements. So here we go, 60 seconds. Oh. Bulk participant deletion, cloning quick quotes events, expired document participant UI, table question reporting, deleting documents faster, Sim Dojo workflow updates, supplier reference number, filtering defaults, host user deactivation, simple lot download, advanced lot download, group searching in Sim, in-browser document viewing, freeze headers when scrolling, reordering documents, Sim notification recipient, Sim from email resetting, multiple questionnaire download, advanced lot alphanumeric, supplier document linking, Sim owner filtering, public questionnaire icon, Sim document status, Sim questionnaire deadlines, recent decisions indicator, renewed docs indicator, MD event deletion, message UI ordering, message participant filtering, automatic event reopening, answer review UI, automatic event closing, expired document indicator, Sim questionnaire progress bar, quick quotes rejected label, password creation guidance, loading icons, Sim recycle bin, simple lot total graphics, scoring question by question, easy score adjustment, expanded spell checking, host permission UI, multiple approval sets, more automatic. And I'm out of time. So that's just some of the many things that I'll click through. There's lots I've missed here. I'm not going to reel them all off. I'm sure you're tired of me talking there. But you can see there's absolutely loads I didn't get to here, and this isn't even all of them. And we're really proud that we have this kind of process that makes sure that all of our customers' little enhancements that they want to see in the system, we have a resource for that, and it's dedicated. So we're really proud of this. There's going to be plenty more of this to come in 2020. And speaking of 2020, I wanted to give you a sneak peek on what exactly 2020 is going to look like. So here's our general roadmap for the year. These are all major items. You can see that I'm just going to go through some standouts. So Sim hierarchy been completed in the first quarter, as I've just demonstrated. Multi-stage RFQs for simple lots is completed and will be added to advanced lots as part of the advanced lot performance piece. So advanced lot performance, I'll go through all of these in detail in a moment. Supplier relationship management, supplier performance management, and then requisitions and reporting improvements, some of the major standouts there. And looking at these in detail, what are we working on right now? So right now, we have a number of development teams working in independent areas. So we have a team currently looking at advanced lot performance. What we're aiming for with advanced lots is to build up to having 10,000 cells load in a quick manner. So we want to be able to accommodate 10,000 cells quickly within the system. It's been going on for a couple of months now. We expect to continue into at the end of this quarter, and I'm constantly getting updates on how they're progressing, and things are moving along fairly smoothly. And at the end of that project, we're going to look to add some functionality as well. So that's expansion of the multi-stage RFQs that I've previously mentioned in simple lots, and its flexibility on submission. So that will be in two areas. It will be allowing suppliers to not enter, allowing optional fields, but perhaps you want to set up a scenario where you can bid in one particular way or another. You don't want them to have to submit both. We'll be accommodating that, and we'll also be no longer restricting the fact you have to add a lot total. I know that in some cases that's not necessary. We're going to be removing that as well. We're currently also working on tagging and custom fields within Sim Dojo. So those are upon the invite, you'll be able to set a tag, and we're an additional feature on the back of that. Those tags could also decide which questionnaires they get automatically. Custom fields, as in Contract Dojo I showed earlier, you'll be able to add those custom fields, complete them when inviting or later on. And customer love as ever, we're going to continue to work on the graphic. It was on every single quarter, and here's some of the things we're working on at the moment or in the next sprint. So timing of intelligent notifications, when you want those to actually be sent out in terms of when the event is coming up. Intuitive document addition, so how we get our users of our MD event to add documents to their event in a more intuitive way. And bookmarking messages. We know that on some events you receive hundreds of messages, maybe you lose track of which one you're meant to be doing. We're going to add the ability to bookmark those and just find your bookmarked messages. Now onto the big roadmap items that are either started or on the way. So supplier relationship management, we actually started 2 days ago on Monday, finished the requirements for that, and development are currently just getting their hands on that. It's going to be our biggest project for this financial year. It's going to take up the majority of our resource, but we are really hoping to create a central hub for all of your procurement data. So that's not only everything that's currently held within Market Dojo, but that's bringing in data from other sources as well, and including a couple more larger project features I'll continue on in this presentation to talk about. So it's going to allow you to maintain and categorize your suppliers and contacts. So that kind of tagging that I talked about in Sim will expand out to here. You'll be able to quickly find all of your software suppliers in here, find all of their details, search for a particular account, a supplier, a contact. Maybe someone calls you, you're not sure who it was. Much of a similar way as a customer relationship management system, a CRM might work, we're going to do the same thing, or even better for suppliers. So you'll have all of that supplier information in one place. You'll be able to categorize, evaluate supply chain wide data. So a dashboard with widgets to really view all of the information coming in from various sources. And importantly, you'll have the ability to record activities within the system. So that's any contact that is made with a supplier. We know you've got hundreds of people across the business, if for a larger business, certainly contacting suppliers that maybe you don't know about all of these interactions. You'll have all of that held within the system. So any details of calls, meetings, and tasks can be logged in the system, and we can schedule follow-ups or generate actions on the back of those. So if you have a meeting, you can use that meeting. Oh, on the back of that, I need to generate 3 or 4 tasks, and those can be assigned to internal and external stakeholders who have the ability to come in and view what needs to be done, maybe perhaps before the next meeting or before a deadline that's set against the task. It's going to be a big project. We have lots of users on board with us at the moment who are going to be helping us to develop this as we go. It's going to be a number of months in the works. If you are interested in getting involved, maybe in some webinars on how this is progressing, or perhaps beta, which is somewhere a couple months away, but some beta access, please contact your account manager, and I'll be in touch about how we can use your feedback to improve this system. On the back of supplier relationship management, there'll be an additional piece for supplier performance management, and that will be really drilling into the data and ensuring that in a Power BI adjacent manner, that all of your information is up to date and you really are secure in your supply chain. So it will generate a score. So similar to how I said the algorithm might generate for risk in Power BI, this will generate a score. So you'll be able to see, oh, that supplier is currently set at, he's performing at 97%. That's excellent. But you'll also be able to identify those who are in need of improvement and take actions within the SRM to remedy that. So maybe you have a particular meeting or a particular type of activity that remedies for those suppliers. And then scorecarding will be our last major piece in our vision for this year. So scorecarding will be the ability to request internal and external feedback on your supplier relationships. So that's going out to your internal stakeholders to say, okay, how is this supplier performing, and getting feedback on that, not only for one supplier, but maybe you send that out across your entire supply chain. But also we'll have a number of different types of scorecards. So you have that generic feedback. You'll have something for gap analysis, where you request information from internal and external stakeholders, see how they marry up. You'll also have something for contractual KPIs that I've mentioned there. So when you add your contracts into Contract Dojo, we'll provide the ability to add KPIs against that, things that should be measured, generate a scorecard, and make sure that they are performing up to that KPI. And non-conformance on the back of that. If they're not performing to a particular KPI, having a non-conformance scorecard on how are we going to improve things. And this will all feed back into your supplier SPM scoring, should you wish it to. It will have a huge weighting on how your supplier is being scored. There's lots more to come on the roadmap. You saw there are a number of items in there. Those are all larger projects. So we're looking to do slicker on-demand auctions, really guiding people from login all the way through to running their first event. We want to make it easier for participants to access events, maybe removing some of the more bulky parts of the login process, maybe automatic login from the emails, for instance. We're looking to improve our reporting in-app and external, so that's enhancements to the Power BI offering we have, but also having some more simple reporting within the system. We're always looking to do new integrations, so particularly with that SRM piece, there'll be integrations perhaps with risk or savings management that we can bring into that system and make sure you're getting a real holistic view of your suppliers. And then requisitions. This will be the last major project that will really complete our vision as a Market Dojo for all of the products we want to provide. And this will accommodate internal requests from your team. We're sure you're bombarded with emails and requests from the team at large. And this will be a place to log those. So it'll be a simple web form that you create for your internal stakeholders to complete and request things of your procurement team, which can then get taken through to various different sources of the Market Dojo suite. Perhaps they want someone onboarded, you'll be able to take that information through to onboarding. Maybe you want to run a particular event for a particular product, you'll be able to take that through for MD and provide them feedback. Maybe they've not provided enough information, maybe you've chosen proceed. All of that information will be fed back to the requester. And I think that is all from me for now. So I've had a look back at 2019. I've shown you some of the new things we are releasing or have released, so numeric questions and multi-stage RFQs. And I've looked at what we're going to be doing in 2020, some of those major items we've been looking at. And so now I think we've had some questions come in. I'm just going to open those up and respond to them. Let me just have a look. So we've had a question about multi-stage RFQs. So multi-stage RFQs testing in the sandpit. Yeah, you'll be able to do that. It's exactly the same. What I was actually demonstrating there it was within the sandpit, so you can view it from both participant and host sides. You'll be able to see that from both sides. How often are updates to the system made? And if we had requests or customer love improvements, what's the best process? So our releases are made every 2 weeks. So we have a list of customer love fixes we want to include within our releases. And at the start of every 2 weeks, we kind of prioritize what needs to go to the top of those, but nothing ever gets forgotten about. The best way to request those, either through your account manager or through support. Those are the best ways to do it, particularly account manager. Fighting your corner and with the product team is really useful. I look forward to doing lots more customer love in 2020. Getting started with 10 free contracts in Market Dojo. That's a really good question. So as I previously mentioned, everyone should now have access to Contract Dojo within the module options at the top of the screen. If you were to click on that, as a superhost, you would automatically have access. You can go in and start playing around with the contracts. If you do want more information on how to play with it, look at the webinar, contact your account manager. If you're clicking on that link and you don't have access, what it will say is it will provide you some information on what Contract Dojo is, and it will say contact the superhost, and it will have their information to get access. And yeah, you can keep playing with that using those 10 contracts as much as you like. And if you're happy to proceed, give us a call, your account manager, and they'll be happy to take you on. What is Help Dojo? I skipped over that a little bit. Let me come back and I'll show that off here. So I'm in Sim at the moment. So this Help Dojo box at the bottom, this has information on Sim Dojo. So at the top, we always have that contact us page, and that will get you through to support or sales. And then I've got lots of information about what I'm currently seeing. So how do I create or edit my onboarding process? And then I have a number of options on what I would like to do on this page. And this updates no matter what page I'm on. So if I were on Market Dojo, for instance, here we are. Help Dojo now provides me with information about different types of auction I could run, or creating or editing an MD event, how to create an RFQ, how to use event templates. And as I previously mentioned, if you contact us with anything you feel is missing, or if anything needs updating, or maybe on the back of a support ticket, we might go, okay, well, actually, we need more information on that. We're constantly adding to this via our support team. One more, let me just see. Are there any features related to services and maintenance contracts alerts? So the alert system is really flexible within Contracts Dojo. Once you've uploaded a contract into the tool, you can send out alerts at any time using the, I've closed it off. Let me just quickly go there. I'm in the sandpit, so is it going to let me do this? There we go. I need to leave the sandpit first. Apologies. And this is my testing one. Everyone else will have contracts at the top bar. In this testing one, I don't. So that alerting system here, if it's coming up to the end, if it's coming up to the expiry date, I can set those. Where are we? Further down. I can set those alerts within the system. I can add recipients to that notification who needs to be informed about these alerts coming up, and I can add any information via customer notifications if I wish. So in this particular services maintenance contract, perhaps you have a default customer notification set up that you want to send out after a particular time. You'd be able to do that from within here, and I can add as much or as little information, as many public notes as I wish. Okay, I think that is everyone. Let me just check here. Yeah, I think that's all of the questions we've had. Thank you very much for attending, everyone. As I say, this webinar will be available if you missed the start of it or want to share it with anyone else. It'll be available on the webinar portal shortly after we've finished. Thank you very much for attending. If you've got any other questions, please get in touch via your account manager. I'll be happy to answer anything you still have to have answered. Thank you very much, everyone. It was lovely to speak to you, and we are really looking forward to bringing you lots of new things within 2020.